ये कहानी है साधारण लोगों की, लेकिन कहानी एकदम असाधारण है क्योंकि ये कहानी उन परिस्थितियों की है, उन इमोशंस की है जो हम सब महसूस करते हैं, लेकिन किस तरीके से इन पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टर्स को ये इफ़ेक्ट करता है, किस तरीके से इनके ये रिलेशनशिप्स कायम हो जाते हैं और किस तरीके से ये जो रिश्ते इनमें कायम होते हैं, उनके थ्रू जो ये डोर है, जो ये रिश्तों की डोर है, किस तरीके से ये वीव करती हुई आती है और क्या जो सर्कमस्टांसेस इनके अराउंड हैं इसे सर्वाइव कर पाएंगी कि नहीं, ये रिश्ते, ये इस फिल्म की कहानी है।
आपका कैरेक्टर क्या है इसमें?
मैं इस फिल्म में एक लड़की का कैरेक्टर प्ले कर रही हूँ जिसका नाम है जीनत। ये एक मुस्लिम लड़की है, हिमाचल प्रदेश में किसी गांव में रहती है और ये लड़की बहुत ही बुलंद किस्म की लड़की है। ये जानती है इसे क्या चाहिए, उसे कैसे हासिल करना है उसे ये भी मालूम है, उसे क्या मालूम है वो भी मालूम है और इवेंचुअली उसके बारे में एक बहुत ही अच्छी लाइन है फिल्म में, ये लड़की ज़माने से अपना हक छीनना जानती है। अब ये सब इस लड़की का कैरेक्टर है। इस कैरेक्टर को आप ऐसी सिचुएशन में डाल दीजिए कि इस लड़की को मालूम ही नहीं कि अब क्या किया जाए। इसे कभी एक्सपीरियंस नहीं हुआ है कि किसी भी ऐसी सिचुएशन में उसने अपने आप को नहीं पाया है कि जब उसे मालूम ना हो कि अब मैं क्या करूं, अब मैं कैसे डील करूं। और कुछ ऐसी एक सिचुएशन सामने आ जाती है जहां पर इसे एक जर्नी पर निकलना है, एक सफ़र पर निकलना है, एक तलाश में, अपनी मंजिल की तलाश में। और उस रास्ते में उसे एक बहरूपिया मिलता है जो श्रेयस प्ले कर रहा है और दोनों इकट्ठे मीरा के कैरेक्टर की खोज में जाते हैं और किस तरीके से जीनत और मीरा जो बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट है, जहाँ जीनत इंडिपेंडेंट है वहाँ मीरा को कभी फ्रीडम ही नहीं दी गई किसी भी इंडिपेंडेंस की, नाइदर इन थॉट नॉर इन एक्शन। जहाँ जीनत ज़माने से अपना हक छीनना जानती है, वहाँ मीरा को यही नहीं मालूम कि उसका हक क्या है। तो इन दो लड़कियों में एक रिलेशनशिप कायम होता है और ये रिलेशनशिप अल्टीमेटली एक बैकड्रॉप में है और वो बैकड्रॉप है जीनत की मंजिल। तो क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा उस मंजिल का, उस इंटेंशन का इनकी फ्रेंडशिप पे? क्या ये डोर जो इन दोनों को बांधती है, क्या ये स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ है? क्या ये इसमें उतनी मजबूती है कि इतने बड़े स्ट्रेन को झेल कर भी ये सर्वाइव कर जाए?
Did you have to make any special preparations for this role?
Preparations? Well, on the surface, this part didn't seem very difficult to play. The girl is independent, she knows what she wants, she knows how to get it. I mean, most Indian girls today are like that. But the thing is, this is a rural girl who knows what she wants, who's independent, not an urban girl. Most urban girls one associates with an immense degree of confidence and independence. But this is something which is rural. So there comes difference number one. Two is also at the same time, she's independent and strong, she's also vulnerable and innocent. Now, when I first heard this part, I figured, okay, a strong girl should be all right. But then when the layering set in, when I read the full script and when Nagesh and I talked and we discussed various facets of it, and I realized that here is you have to play strength in this character with vulnerability. You have to play determination with innocence. Now there's a lot of layering. It's not simplistic. And even when it comes to sadness and devastation and extreme sorrow, Nagesh didn't want any tears in my eyes. Now, because sometimes you're in a situation where you're really with the character, you're feeling what the character is feeling, and tears just come to you. Forget glycerin and all, that's not happening here. But tears just come to your eyes, and Nagesh is like, cut. Gul, I don't want this girl crying. I don't want tears in her eyes. I want you to play the same sorrow, the same devastation, but without any moisture in your eyes. Now, I mean, there were difficult moments here throughout because the character is so complex. It's not a unidimensional character wherein, okay, she's this way and she's like this. But she's going through different things because also we remember that she's hiding something from Meera. So that fact that she's hiding something from Meera and she's conscious of that, and that guilt is constantly something that has to come through. The fact that she's scared about what Meera is going to say is also something that has to come through. Of course, she's determined, she knows what she wants, she's strong, she's also light-hearted. So all these things have to come through at the same time, all in one time. So that's where I think it was a bit difficult. You know, in this particular shot, it's a montage shot. I'm sitting on a charpai outside a dhaba, and I'm sad because I'm thinking of the one I love. I'm reading his letters. मेरे हाथ में उसकी निशानी है. और without doing anything, I was getting tears in my eyes. And Nagesh was like, "Oh God, you can't cry. I can't have tears in your eyes." I said, "But I'm feeling it." He goes, "I know, that's wonderful that you're so involved in the character, and I'm really pleased, but I don't need tears." So it's just something which, and this it didn't happen just in this scene. In many scenes where there's devastation, where she's sad, he didn't want there to be any tears because that's a defining trait of this character. She's a very strong girl. She doesn't cry, but that doesn't mean that strong people don't experience sorrow. It doesn't mean that strong people don't experience pain. It's all there, but externally it's not visible. It is being shown because the camera catches the most minute details, but it's all internalized and of course extremely visible to the eye of the camera. There's this night scene in the film where Shreyas' character and my character Zeenat and Bherupia are in this hut where Zeenat is cooking and they're eating khana and all that night. And we took a break to light because we had to move from a wide shot to our closes. And we were just sitting on the side. This is about 2 o'clock in the night. We'd shot all day and of course we were going to shoot all night. The reason becomes very clear in a minute. So a bit of sand started blowing. So we said, I'll just cover my face with my dupatta, and Shreyas covered his face with that little thing that men wear around their necks. 5 minutes later, when I opened my eyes and removed my dupatta, I couldn't see Shreyas sitting 5 feet next to me. The sandstorm had just picked up and the wind had just picked up and we couldn't see anything. Which is why, and it's precisely what Nagesh was really afraid of. Because I believe in that part of Rajasthan, after a particular date in the year, sandstorm activity really heightens. And then the sun doesn't come out for hours, you lose half a day, 2 days, 3 days in a go. And this is precisely what happened the next day. We couldn't shoot till 4 p.m. in the evening. There was just a haze, like Delhi fog. So that was another really interesting experience. We had no visibility, it's hot, and there's wind, and and there's sand going catch between your teeth, you have sand in your nose, you have sand in your ears, sand in your eyes, eyelids. It was terrible.
Which month were you shooting?
We were in April in Rajasthan, where in effect summer is set in and how. My look in the film is something that couldn't have made me happier. I have no makeup on. And literally, as in, if I did this to my face and rubbed it really hard, there would be nothing but sand and grime and sweat. And why I love that was because, one, it makes you feel very light. As an actor, it gives you immense degree of freedom of movement, because if I had tears and I had to wipe them, I wouldn't do a cosmetic wipe. Like, I could literally wipe. I mean, I actually have more makeup on now than I did, during the shooting of Door. So it would be a cosmetic wipe, but on set, if I was crying and I needed to wipe my face, it would be an actual wipe without worrying about makeup, job, and how again we have to retouch and all of that. And two, because it would give me an hour of extra sleep every day. As it is, we were on set by 6:45. Add to that makeup and hair, I'd have to wake up at 5 every day. I mean, as it is, I was waking up at 5:30, so I have to wake up at 4:45. So that's a lot. And thirdly, and most critically, I don't think makeup would have survived in that heat. We'd have been like running. In any case, I think Nagesh has cast, I'd like to believe so perfectly, that the two characters don't need anything to enhance them. They are what they are. He's cast us for the people that we are when we are not in our usual grease paint. And I think that's wonderful. The character of Zeenat is just how it is. And what's so interesting and so flattering for me as a human being and as an actor and as a person is that when we went to Himachal, we've already finished the Rajasthan portion, went to shoot in Himachal, and there were some locals, and we all took a picture, like local girls, and I cannot tell you, when Nagesh saw that picture, he goes, "My God, I know I've cast the right person." Because, I mean, you couldn't tell the difference if you didn't know it. Gul was Gul. I was just blending in with people. And that was such a wonderful thing to hear from the entire unit. They were like, "My God, you look just like one of them." And that felt great, because I think the only way that could have been achieved is because of no makeup. I was actually far more comfortable without makeup than I've ever been with makeup on, because makeup adds a layer to you. It's like wearing a mask, though no matter how good it is and how beautiful it may make you look, at some level I feel it in a very tiny way, maybe it's minuscule, 0.00001%, it hampers my comfort level. I just feel that, I'm conscious of something on my face. I mean, that's not something which I have problem with, but if I don't have it, I'm very happy. I feel like I'm at home.
Was it difficult delivering as per Nagesh's expectations as a director?
Nagesh is a very tough taskmaster. He knows exactly what he wants and he will not stop unless he gets it. And once he's got it, he will shoot no more. That's also another interesting point. A lot of times as an actor, you feel, Nagesh, I'm not really happy with that shot. I think I could give a variation. And many times you're allowed that liberty of taking that variation. But with Nagesh, if he's got what he wants, he's like, Gul, I've got what I want. No variation is going to make me change my mind. I know exactly what I want and this is it. Sometimes it happens in the first take. And sometimes on a bad day, it doesn't happen in 5 takes. So I'm just saying, there are days when I'm trying to illustrate here how clear he is about what he wants, how clear he is about what he wants to portray of the character. And having said that, I think another very interesting point here I'd like to make is that for an actor, each time you step onto a set, it's quite like a new student stepping into a new classroom or a new school. You know exactly why you're here, you're familiar with the ethos, but you have to adapt to the unwritten laws of that institution. Likewise, I think every director is different to work with because they're all, at the end of the day, a director is bringing his own core personality into his job. So yes, I think Nagesh works very differently, but I find his way of working very effective because he's honest in his approach. He's not doing any shoshabazi. If he wants you to cry in a particular shot or not cry, it's because there's a reason behind it. He doesn't want Zeenat crying because Zeenat is a girl who does not show her emotions. She is a strong girl who can deal with anything. That's the character. Now, I can't add to it and say, listen, but tears are coming. Well, I better stop them. And having said that, I think also he is, sometimes I think there'll also be a couple of situations where he'll be like, how do you think this should be? At that point, he's testing how well I know my character. You tell me. And I go up to Nagesh and I'm like, Nagesh, how do you think she should do this? So he's like, what do you mean she? Don't you mean you? I said, yeah. Wait, how do you mean I should do this? So he's like, how do you think you should do this? More often than not, that itself would bring out the answer. But there were times when I was completely foxed. There was a scene or two and I said, Nagesh, I have no idea how to play this. Should I be angry? Should I just be flat? So Nagesh and I developed Nagesh developed a word to deal with me on the time when he wanted a particular thing. It was called Gul, play it flat. I wouldn't play it flat, but it became like a definition for what I would do when he would say, Gul, play this flat. So a lot of times when there was no particular way with playing a particular scene, he would say, play it flat. Another very interesting thing that Nagesh would do is, he would always say, don't play sadness with sadness, play sadness with joy. It becomes endearing. When you say, I'm so happy that you're here today. It means so much. That has so much more effect than, I'm so happy that you're here today. One scene where Nagesh used our private code of playing it flat was the scene that has Shreyas and me sitting and eating khana on the floor outside the hut, where Shreyas asked me, so when are you going to tell Meera the truth? And therein is the complexity of Zeenat's character. She's not a dishonest person, but she can't tell her the truth, but she wants to tell her the truth, but she also wants Meera to do what she wants her to do. So in those 5 emotions, I was like, what to do, Nagesh? So Nagesh says, play it flat. So this is what I end up doing. I say, jal bataungi, bahut jald. I mean, there is just no emotion there. I mean, but that signifies the fact that she's guilty, she wants to tell, but she can't tell, she'd like to tell, and she's really fond of the girl, but so that layering, I think, comes in very well in that particular shot. Well, in the scene where I go to Meera's house, I go looking for Meera, and eventually they find out who I am, and Meera's mother-in-law spits on me. Now, during the shooting of that scene, I was spat on 7 times. Because, it's one of those things that was just not happening. Either the spit was too little or it was too watery. Then she was like, okay, I'll take some water and spit on your face. At the end of the day, end of that particular scene, I had been spat on 7 times. Thoo. And then I'd be like, okay, let's continue. Thoo. Okay. So, I was really spat on, and I think it was really good for my skin because I'm not wearing any makeup. Another brutality that I was subjected to during this shoot was being slapped. And how? And again, the best part was Nagesh didn't want tears. I get really hard, get really tight, hard, karara slap. And obviously, the natural thing for anybody when they get slapped is your eyes well up with tears. When I did that, Nagesh was like, cut, we'll have to do that again because I don't want tears. So I get patak again, but eventually, it worked out. The film's been shot extensively in Rajasthan. We shot in Rajasthan for about 30 days and 10 days in very, very remote Himachal Pradesh, almost touching Jammu and Kashmir. In Rajasthan, we shot in areas that have not been shot in before, total virgin territory, in rural areas, in areas where there is phones don't work. In fact, there was this one dune that we'd all go to make calls on. Each time we had a break in the shot, you're looking after somebody else's closes down, you're looking for Gul. Where's Gul? On that dune. Where's Ayesha? On that dune. Because that's the only way we could call anybody from. So the areas are very beautiful. They've been shot in completely different areas. No one's ever seen them on film before. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I think what's so exotic about them is that even though we've exposed Rajasthan in films before, it's about Jodhpur and the fort and Jaipur and Udaipur, the usual suspect. It's always the same sort of places that are exposed. Here, along with the usual, I mean, we have very few of the usual so-called cliched shooting spots here, but most of the stuff that we shot in is in areas that you just look and it's completely rural. It's in villages, in small towns near Falodi, in different places. It's very beautiful, very, very beautiful.
Any problems shooting in Rajasthan or Himachal?
Actually, Himachal was amazing to shoot, and I can't begin to tell you how cooperative the people were because the population is very low. I mean, we were shooting in villages where there would be a board saying Jansankhya 404, 405, 300. So populations were very, very little. And I think people out there were so excited, they were so honest, they were so helpful. It was a wonderful experience. Whereas in Rajasthan, I remember shooting a scene in Pokhran in the middle of a bazaar. It was very tough. I think we lost a whole day. All we ended up doing was 3 shots because there were just too many crowds and there were 1,000 people standing and watching, and we'd have this rope to restrain the crowd, and it wasn't working, and we had the police come and help us, and the police was saying, "Hum kya kare, wo aa rahe hain log." So we're like, okay, then that's good. So yes, we had 2 or 3 days we had severe problems with crowds in Pokhran, but otherwise no.
Any mishaps while shooting?
I think Ayesha fell once on the day of the climax. She was running and in the railway station, and she falls. And the amazing thing is that, I was going to tell her because I'd seen her in the rehearsal run twice, thrice, and I told her, I think, be careful, there's a manhole kind of raised little platform. And, I said to her, listen, be careful, and I'm shouting from here. And I see her running to me, and she fell for the second time, once in my mind and once exactly the same way. And I saw her, and I think they have it on camera. Her falling, and poor thing, she got bruised quite badly. Luckily it wasn't a deep cut, but it's just unpleasant to fall while working because you don't feel good about it, and it's just unpleasant. And other than that, I don't think there were any mishaps. Yes, the day we had to pack up because of the sandstorm, we were shooting off the main highway, and for us to find our way back to the highway, which was just about 300 meters but no visibility, it took us close to 20 minutes to find where the road was because we were shooting off the road.
What do you think about the music of it?
Salim Suleiman have given an excellent score for the film. What I find really special about their score is that the music complements the film. The music fills in the gaps in the film. Not that there are any gaps, but it just takes the film to another level. We don't have any lip sync songs in the film. The film is not that kind of a film. It's more Hollywood with everything's background. And in all of that, I think whatever I've seen, it just uplifts the the film to another level altogether. I remember I'm watching the promos on TV, and what I see is, I remember shooting those parts and looking at them later, and then with the music put inside them, they're just so much better. I mean, just takes it to another level altogether. Beautiful, excellent score.
Any favorite song?
I like Hausla because it's very uplifting. It makes you feel good. It gives you a spirit to fight. It gives you, it highlights what's going on, of course, but at the same time, it also makes you have hope. It's about hope. It's about courage. It's about the will to try and survive.
Any favorite scene in the film?
Favorite is tough, but there was this one scene that was really intense and very emotional, and both Ayesha and I are really in the moment, and it's so right, and then we have to hug in that scene, and the hug is perfect, and the scene has to end with the two of us separating from the hug. So you have Ayesha and Gul hugging and really emotional, and it's lovely, and then as we are separating, our clips get stuck. Because we have these pins in our hair, very rural, it's not very fancy clips, they're those really jagged edged pins, and the pins get stuck, and we couldn't believe it. We're like, oh my god, this shot was so perfect, and here we are with our pins entwined. Imagine. It was interesting. I think life throws up all kinds of situations when you least expect them.
Okay. Any dance sequence in the film?
There's an item song in the film, and it was great fun to shoot. I mean, Shreyas is such a brilliant dancer, and he's so very natural. And watching him and dancing with him was great fun. I loved it. I think it's the song of songs.
You had any problems doing a dance sequence? Meaning, I mean, you've never really done a dance sequence.
Yes. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I think dance something which you can either do or not do. And I think I dance all the time. So I believe I do have a lot of natural rhythm in me. And that's what I think worked well, very well.
Do you want to comment on the costumes?
The costumes in the film are very indicative of the treatment of the film. It's very realistic. It's not about wearing the clothes in a place which don't work. It's not about wearing a miniskirt in a village. It's about being in the costume that belongs in the film. And my character is wearing salwar kameezes. They are most unflattering to the female form. They're very loose. My mother could wear them. Both of us together could wear them. I mean, they were like that. But I think it's so part of the film. I mean, the costumes don't distract. They add to the character, and I think that's really nice. The clothes have been done keeping in mind the sensibility and the kind of feel that the film has. I think Komal Chahani has done a great job with clothes. They're very indicative of the character. The clothes don't distract from the character, but they add and uplift the character. And they're very exactly how they're meant to be. I mean, my character is in these really rustic, not at all flattering salwar kameezes. Ayesha's character is in these Rajasthani lehenga looking things. So I think Komal's done a very good job, very thoroughly researched, because this isn't something which one is familiar with sitting in Bombay. It's something which one has to go down there and see what it's all about. I think Shradeep is such a talented cinematographer. He has a beautiful eye, and each shot he'd take that we were allowed to see, because Nagesh doesn't like anybody watching the monitor, each shot that we were allowed to see was stunning, particularly the huge wides where he's fully exposed our field of vision. They are stunning. I remember I would see Nagesh's reaction, sir, mind-blowing frame. What a frame! My God, you've raised my film's production value by 3 crores because of this particular shot. So it became like a Takia Kalam on the set that, sir, now it's gone to 20 crores. And by the time we wrapped up, our film was 100 crores.
So then it should do 1,000 crores.
Oh, we hope. Yes. Yes. Lots of good business. Shreyas is a very gifted actor. His histrionic skills are par excellent. He's an amazing mimic. He's very hardworking, and on top of all that, I think the cherry on the top is that he's extremely likable. You meet him and you instantly have a kind of amazing liking for this boy. He's just so endearing. He's just so endearing. And Ayesha, I think I'm going to go hoarse by the time I finish saying this for the last time. I think she's a very natural actress. She's effortlessly natural, and she has an amazing girl next door feel about her, which I think is so endearing. Again, I think I'm the one who's the non-endearing one, stuck with these two endearing people. But I think it was such a pleasure working with the two of them. In fact, there are a couple of scenes where all of us are together, and I think it's lovely. What great fun, and so much to watch the two of them and wonder how gifted are these two.
Anything would you like to comment on art direction by yourself?
I think it's always. I find that the art director's job is always the hardest, because it's easy to pick the actors and get everything ready, but where things go wrong, and I feel as if I were a director, I'd have a really tough time with the art direction, because you have to it's a decision that you've got to make, because the art direction is what fixes the look of the film. And I think they've done a great job, the entire team. We had this temple that was built from scratch in the middle of the dunes, which was researched, and they found out what period would it have been built in, and what kind of architecture it would have been. And I tell you, when you see that temple, you can't even tell that it's not a real temple. It looks like an antique, ancient temple that survived the tortures of the wind, and it's really beautiful. Yes, Nagesh is our very own M. Night Shyamalan. He always does a special appearance in most of his films, and here too you'll see him in a very, very special appearance, doing a very, very nice job. And I will not spoil the surprise any further, but you'll enjoy watching him.
Okay. Is he better as an actor or as a director?
I think it'll be a really unfair comparison to try and figure out whether Nagesh is a better actor or a better director. I'd like to say that he's a brilliant director, and I'm not anybody who can judge anybody's acting skills, so I'm just going to leave that part unsaid. But like I said, he's very sincere in whatever he does, and by default, he's very good at whatever he does.
Does he enact a scene to you since he's an actor?
Very rarely, very, very rarely. Unless, sometimes I'd be truly stuck. I'd be like, Nagesh, I have no idea how to do this. Please tell me what to do. He'd say, okay, listen, be sad. You've just come out of the situation. You're sad and you're devastated. And we do that. So I don't know what to do. Then he'd say, okay, look at me. Very rarely. There were about 2-3 instances where, I think he would tell me what to do. But like I said, very, very, very rarely. Very rarely.